Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some new products from Pink Fresh Studio. I am going to be using the Indigo Roses and the Celebrate Washi style sets. These sets do have stamps, dies, and coordinating stencils. I'm also going to be using a swirl background stencil and the dotted scallop cover plate. So with these washi sets, I do have to kind of change my setup for how I stamp them. I use the outside of my Misty door. I didn't know this trick in the beginning, but I learned it from somebody else. And with this new magnetic glass mat here, I'm using my magnets to actually hold my paper in place, which is perfect. Normally you guys don't see all that area. You just see just the mat. But I did have to share it with you in order to be able to share the magnets. If you're interested in the glass mat, I know several of you have asked about them. I will link it below in the YouTube description with the 20% off coupon code, which I love the savings, you know that. So anyway, I do, because they are generously sized, these washi sets, I do this setup and it works pretty well, honestly. I was able to double stamp each of the stamp sets. I had a hard time choosing what I wanted to use, and these little balloons, are these not so cute? They're like these cute little elegant balloons that are so different from most of the styles that are on the market, but they have little florals with them, which, hello, flowers, you're beautiful. So I decided that I was going to like bump that up a notch and then also use the Indigo Roses set to kind of just really give that punch of florals. So like I said, I did double stamp these. I'm using the Pink Fresh Studios hybrid ink, and this is safe for alcohol markers. I'm going to be using my Copics to do some coloring, but we're really going to talk about the backgrounds is really what we're going to talk about for this one. A little bit of card design. That seems to be something that you guys have requested time and time again, just to kind of help you learn a little bit more about card design if something you struggle with. So we will talk about those. Here, this is the Indigo Roses set. These are some kind of loosely drawn florals, which are super pretty. They'd be great in watercolor. But I'm going to show you how I color them. And also the balloons are a very loose style, so they match each other pretty nicely, which I think is always good when you're trying to put two different sets together, that if they're kind of drawn in a similar style. I'm not sure if they're the same illustrator or not. I'm not sure who they use or if they use multiple illustrators or not. I would think that they do, because this, I know Emily, my friend Emily, illustrates for them, and this does not look like Emily's style. So I would assume that they use multiples and maybe the same illustrator for both of the sets. Unsure. So now, once the stamping's done, let's talk about these backgrounds. So this swirl background actually was released with their holiday release, but I love it. I love it so much. You could do it in rainbows. You could do it, I mean, there's so many uses for it, but we're going to use it as a way to draw the attention to our focal point. And you don't necessarily, this stencil is gorgeous and I'm a big fan of it because it has a central point, but also because it gives me multiple layers to try to change up my colors, which I'm definitely here for. And then if you've never used Pink Fresh stencils before, they have like the four corners outlined, so that's what you see me doing here in between layers, is lining up my corners so that I know my stencil is exactly where it's supposed to be. I did a more of a subtle background because I didn't want it to compete with my focal point. I wanted it to be the supporting actor to my focal point. Now, as I was saying, the stencil is fabulous, but if you don't have this one, all you would need is a stencil that draws attention to the center. So maybe like a wreath style would be good. That has like more of an open area that's really just going to draw your recipient's eye to the center. And that is why I chose this one. because obviously, you know, you have all these spirals coming out from the middle. You could also do this with maybe a cover plate if you have one, where it has like maybe some rays or things like that. But anything where the design in and of itself draws your eye to the center, that kind of stencil would work with this particular type of card design. I'm leaving my background super, like, well, I think blue's a neutral. I think we know that by now. I mean, he's the best blue. But I chose to go with two lighter colors. I used Speckled Egg and Salty Ocean. The Salty Ocean is really just kind of in the center, and then it kind of fades off a little bit. Because again, I don't want, it's not competition. You know, like it's like when all of your friends get together to do a fundraiser for one friend, that's what's happening in this card. So this background is just, it's the host of the fundraiser for the friend, which is our focal point. This stencil also has this one, which allows you to add like an accent to each swirl. And I'm going to add glitter. Yes, I am. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. But I like the glitters. And so I'm just going to do some glitter paste. This one's by Hero Arts. I've used the Nuvo one in the past. That one's also good, though I did find that it kind of dries out over time. I have heard if you put press and seal over the top of it, it will help with that. But yeah, I love the clear glitters. You do need to clean them up immediately. Like the second you're done, clean them. Because otherwise they will, it's almost like a glue, honestly. They will harden on your stencil or on your palette knife. But I like them enough that I'm willing to get up off my chair and go wash them right away. Or you could wipe them off with a baby wipe pretty immediately and then get up and go wash them. I just wash mine with soap and water. But so I just did a really thin layer of this glitter paste, and I'm not sure that it really shows as well on camera as it does in real life, but in real life it is beautiful. It is very shimmery, glittery. I can see myself using this for like snows in the future. But anyway, I'm going to set that aside to dry. And this is the other option if you do not have a stencil. You don't have a stencil, but you still want to create a nice center focal point that'll help your image just kind of pop off the page. You can do a circle-ish. I don't want to say, it is a circle, but it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. I'm blending out very lightly from the center just to put some color behind my image. And this will again grab the recipient's attention so that it looks directly into the center of the card. I started with the Speckled Egg, and you'll notice every time I'm picking up ink, I'm kind of blotting it off on my glass mat here, and that's just to make sure that I don't get any of those unsightly kind of blobs, and it's a nice smooth blend. But I'm really just sticking that in the center. This is the piece that I'm going to use the dotted scallop cover plate with. You don't have to do this. This is just to add a little bit more interest, a little bit more texture, kind of like the glitter paste was for the first card. But it's just something that, makes the card not so plain. So I ran that through my platinum from Spellbinders, and then I'm going to remove that. You can see it's not super different, but it's just enough texture. And then we're going to move into the coloring. For the coloring, I chose rainbow colors in a bold fashion because that's what I like, quite honestly. You could color them anything that you wanted. They're very pretty. These would be very, these balloons would be very pretty in like a more elegant, maybe some vellum or some gold embossing, just because they're very delicate and dainty and pretty. But I like bold colors, so that's what I'm doing. Plus, I think it looks better with the subtle backgrounds when you have a really bold focal point. So basically, you guys probably see me color balloons a bunch of times, but I like to add some shading just to the inside of the left and right hand sides so that I have, a natural highlight on the outer edge. I also pick one side or the other. Typically for me, it is the right hand side where I will leave a open white area as like the shine on the balloon. If you get heavy-handed with your coloring, or if you forget to leave that white area, don't sweat it. You can always add it back in with a white gel pen. I do that a lot. And then sometimes I add even more highlights to my balloons with the white gel pen, and I think I did that this time as well. So here you might notice that this marker is I typically use Copic sketch markers. This is a Copic Chow marker. They're basically the same thing. The nib is the same. They are just a little bit smaller, so they don't hold as much ink, but it is the double that I had, and I didn't want to have to stop to refill my BO2. I'm just being honest. For the flowers, because they are a little bit more loosely drawn, we can be a little bit more loose with our shading. So there's a couple of little lines drawn in there, and as I'm going in with my next color, I am just kind of looking for those little lines and putting some color behind them is my game plan. So if I find a line, I put a little line of color behind it. And then because I'm only using a 3-color blend, I am kind of fanning that out to fill up a little bit more of the petal. My darkest color I will leave pretty close to the line. I'm not going to fill in too much of the petal unless it's a really open petal. And then I'll go back through just like normal, lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. And I was pretty happy with that shading. And I'm going to show you a couple of them in a couple of different colors, but mostly everything the same. And then if there's anything else, I'll just comment as we go. So it's been a minute since we talked. Oh, let's talk about the blog hop. I'm so sorry. We're like 10 minutes, 11 minutes into this video, and I haven't even talked about the blog hop. This video is part of a blog hop for the Pink Fresh Studio release, and they are doing a giveaway, and I want you to have an opportunity to win. So they are doing a full release on their blog and YouTube channel, and then they are doing a $25 gift card to 10 people. That's a really good chance of winning during from comments along the hop. So I would encourage you, I will link it below if you're watching on YouTube, to head over there. There's so much in this release, really beautiful florals and things that are in this release. I only used 2 of the new items. As I told you before, this does have coordinating stencils, so if coloring is not your jam, stencils is a really easy way to add lots of colors to these things very quickly. So anyway, the last time that we talked, I talked about my friend Michelle, but before that, I was telling you that Peanut had a musical, and he did, and he was like really kind of meh about dressing up for this. It was about the adventures of Lewis and Clark, and he was like, I'm gonna be the only, I don't know if that's how he felt. I'm assuming that he thought he was gonna be the only person dressed up, and really all he did was wear khakis and a white button down and a pair of suspenders. It wasn't like I didn't make him wear a colonial wig or anything. But I had asked him before about if he wanted a costume, and he said no, he could just wear neutral colored clothes. And then like the night before, he was like, where's my costume? What? Why are kids like that? Why do they do that? So my wonderful husband helped me out by hitting up the party supply store to pick up some items, like the suspenders and stuff to help make this quote unquote costume. It was held at the school gym, which was very cute. So, and it was open to everybody. So all of his grandparents had the opportunity to go. My Caitlin's daycare was closed, and she was still napping when it came time for Was she still napping? No, she had woken up, but she did not nap very long, and she was due to eat, I think. So she ended up staying home with my dad. My dad missed the performance. Unfortunately, he sacrificed himself so that Eric and I could go. My mom, both of Eric's parents were there, and then my ex-husband and his mom also came. So we were all there to see his little performance, and they sung a bunch of songs, and it was cute. And they even had one of the kids dressed up as their dog, which was it was overall very adorable. It was about 45 minutes. But the nice thing was then after he was done, he was able to be done, like he was allowed to check out early from school on this Friday, which was super exciting for him. I think it made it all worth it, because he could get out, I think it was like 45 minutes early, but something that he looked forward to nonetheless, a little bit of a extra bonus for being in the musical. So he did that. And then, what did we do? Saturday, did we do? No, Saturday, Eric actually went to it was a gift for his dad. He bought him, a class. You guys know how much we love classes. Speaking of class, I will finish the story, I swear to you. But I just did want to make mention, and I will before we get there as well. October 27th, that is this Thursday, at 8:30 Eastern Time, I will be doing a live for Honeybee on their Facebook page. So I'm super excited about that as well. It just made me think of it because of classes, and I wanted to make sure I shared it. And like I said, in another video, probably Wednesday, I'll make sure to make mention of it again, in case you guys would like to join. So he purchased his father a class, a wood-turning class, which is like really close to out by their house. And then Eric purchased his own spot. He asked his brother if he wanted to go, but he has a very busy calendar. So it was just him and his dad, and it's actually, like I said, super close to their house. So Eric took Caitlin with him, and then Caitlin went and spent some time with Grandma while him and his dad went to this class. He ended up making 2 pens and 2 keychains, and he was super excited about it because the man never gets to really do anything for himself. Honestly, neither one of us do because we have children. There's not much break time. But so he did get to go do that, and I'm hoping, like we talked about it afterward, and I'm sure, for any of you that are in my situation, you're married with children, you have younger children, you probably have the same issue. We prioritize our relationship, because ultimately, like, after our kids get older and everything else, like, what we're going to have is each other. So when we have time off, we prioritize spending that time together. And we were talking, and I told him, I said, maybe like on a Saturday when we've spent all day together and we've spent all day with the kids, like maybe that is something, that like, for an hour or two on Saturday night after, not so much Nathan, but after the baby is in bed, like, we could take an hour or two to kind of go do things because he's playing Fortnite or, whatever, watching YouTube videos, that, he could maybe go out in the garage because I bought him a lathe, which is what Woodturning uses. I bought him that 2 years ago for his birthday, and it's still in the box because he just has not had any time to use it. And so I think it got him a little bit excited for, the possibilities of what he could make at home. And I know he was trying to kind of walk around the store and maybe shop for different things. And his dad was like, Christmas is coming, Christmas is coming. So hopefully that's something that his dad did put on his Christmas list. Back to the card. So here, I was having a little bit of trouble getting this to blend with the Y08 and the YR04. I think my Y08 is dry, so I just went in with a Y19, which is a very similar color to the Y08, and just blended it out. Just trying to be transparent about that. For these little flowers, very loosely drawn. I'm not even going to try to get any sort of dimension by following the lines. I'm going to use stippling. Cheater, yes I am, but it works and it looks pretty at the end, and it still looks like it has dimension, and I'm good with that because it's much easier than trying to follow the lines. So stippling is just a series of dots. I used 4 colors, 2 blues, 2 purples, so that way I could get some color variation. When the blue was on top of the purple, it would be a little bit darker. The lighter purple will remove some of the darker purple as well as some of the blue, give me a couple of different tones. And I was happy with the way that those look. So if you have some looser florals that you're not really sure how to tackle, try stippling. It really does, I think, work pretty well. Sorry, it took me forever to find that VO1 marker apparently. But this will be the one that does any of the lifting as well as filling in the rest of those. I think the yellow is my last color combination. And again, all of these are 3-color blends. I didn't really feel like I needed my 4th color except for with the leaves. And the only reason I used 4 with the leaves is so that I could kind of create 2 different colors, even though they're the same color family. I could use a YG 01, 03, and 17 for one combination, and then I used a YG 03, 17, and 67 for the other one. So I just tried to make sure that the leaves that were on top were the lightest ones, and then that way it would give me just more variation, which I like. You may not. You may be perfectly fine coloring them all the same color, and that's totally fine. That's also a really good way to get more out of your markers if you have a limited amount. Here, I've colored in the little florals, same way I've colored in everything else. But what I'm doing here is when I have a bunch of something, I'm mapping out my colors to try to get something a little bit more even. So all my colors represented, but I knew based on the colors I was using and how many balloons there were, I was going to have 2 of at least 2 colors. So I've mapped them out. Those are my 2 blues, and I picked the 2 blue balloons based on the triangle that would be created with the flowers, and then I picked the 2 purples based on the triangle that would be created with those flowers. I left this 1 balloon in so you could see that the game plan doesn't really change when you're coloring while they have objects on them. I still do the same style, adding shading to the left and right hand sides, just slightly inset from my black line, still leaving that same white highlight, and then blending it all out with my lightest color. So yeah, it was a busier weekend for us. We also went and did pumpkin picking yesterday. We picked some pumpkins. I will save that story for another time because it's just a smidge more involved. But it was a busier weekend for us, but it's because we had an Indian summer. You know, earlier this week it was raining ice here, and Nathan had to wear a full winter coat. This weekend was 75 and sunny and gorgeous, so we had to make the best of it. Here I'm lining up my dies. You'll notice a lot of my images are uncolored, and that's because I didn't have a use for them for this card. However, I will put them in the stamp pocket with the stamps so that I already have some that are kind of pre-cut that I can use for another card in the future. And these ones, even though it's a lot of images, I super like these washi sets because I can just get so much out of them. So here, that was one way that I could have styled it. I tried it that way. I ended up liking it better this way with splitting up the flowers. It felt like one was very plain and one was very simple the other way. So for this one, I'm going to use the kind of round swag underneath a bouquet of balloons that I built. And then for the other one, I'm going to use the large bouquet with the floral swag underneath it. This is me just kind of playing around with options. And I think that's something super important with card design is that you, like, once you have all your pieces, parts, don't be afraid to kind of move them around or turn your card or turn the image to see what else you can come up with. So at this point, I'm happy with the way it's looking. I'm going to stamp my sentiments. Both of these sentiments are from the Celebrate washi set, and they do have coordinating dies. One says birthday wishes, and one says congrats. Very fitting, obviously, for balloons. So I will stamp them, I will die cut them out, and then we will start the assembly of the card. So yeah, just it was a busy weekend, but the weather made it super nice. After we came back from the pumpkin picking, Peanut and Eric went out and threw the football for quite some time while I made dinner, and Miss Caitlin hung out with me. We watched Frozen for the 556th time. She really likes that one. Frozen, Frozen 2, Moana, and Tangled. Those are our go-tos. She's a big fan. Anything with songs. So here I decided that I was going to trim my backgrounds down and pop them up. Something to know when you are using a stencil or this ink blending technique where you just highlight the center, you have to trim all four sides, because otherwise your center point will not be in the center anymore. So as much as it's way easier to just like cut off a quarter of the on one side and a quarter of it on the other side, you have to flip them multiple times to cut, this, what is it, an eighth of an inch off each side to maintain your center. Alternatively, if you get your area not directly in the center, you could trim it to make up for that. So here I am using, this is actually from Picket Fence. This is their large extra wide roll. I did trim it down a little bit. This stuff is super sticky. Not a lot of wiggle room with, really not a lot of wiggle room with a lot of foam tapes. So here I started to put it down. I realized it was too far over, or too close to the top. So I just kind of laid it there gently. That still stuck. This is Arctic, Hero Hues. It's Hero Arts Arctic, cardstock, by the way, that matched my blue the best. And so I finally got it right and then stuck it down, but this stuff means business. There's not a lot of wiggle room. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this other one, but I did adhere this to a white background instead of a blue. So whichever one works. Now at this point, because I popped up the whole frame on, the whole card front on foam tape, everything else is just going to get glued down flat. So I'm gluing down my large balloon bunch. You will see that it's slightly off center, but that's okay because everything else will bring the design together. I'm creating that visual triangle. So we have the balloons at the top. Directly underneath that, we're going to have this little swag of flowers, and then diagonal to the right will be the birthday wishes sentiment. So we'll have that visual triangle plus those swirls in the background that we created, even though very subtle, direct your eye to look into the center of this card front, and all of the, pretty coloring that we have going on there. For this one, where we've used no stencil, we've just done a little bit of ink blending in the middle, we will put our focal point directly on top of that. And then the floral swag for this one is a bit more rounded. So putting that underneath the balloons will lift them up a little bit. And again, everything is going to draw the eye directly into the center, which is where, just a little bit below the center is where we're going to put the congrats sentiment. And once again, I didn't pop any of this up. This was all just glued down flat to the card. You could certainly add in some rhinestones and things. I didn't really feel like the card needed it. I felt like the stamps were doing a fine job of leading the eye around. And I didn't really think it needed any extra embellishments. So once I have that down, you guys know I love the glimmers, love the shimmers. So even though I have glitter paste in the background, I'm still going to put shimmer on all my balloons and all my flowers. Yes, I am. And then here's where I went in with that white gel pen, just added some extra highlights or bolstered up the white highlights that I already had there. And this is just kind of fun, whimsical way to add a little bit of extra dimension. I thought about doing something to the flowers, but ultimately changed my mind. So that's it. This is both cards. I hope that these background techniques help you, in the future to kind of help your focal points pop. And if you have any questions, let me know. Head over to the blog pop for your chance to win, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.